Pastoring one church is challenging, but going from pastoring 8 churches at once in a district to pastoring one church with a full-time staff of 6 or 7 leaders requires an adjustment in the pastor's leadership. Pastor Harold Alomia was just that pastor. He was happy and faithful serving 8 churches and is happy and faithful now pastoring one college church. You don't want to miss this program. You're watching Ministry in Motion, where we explore best practices for your ministry in the 21st century. Harold, welcome to Ministry in Motion.
Thank you for the invitation, Ivan. I really appreciate it.
Man, it's an honor to have you. And so, pastoring 8 churches, and now you're at a college church where you have a full-time staff.
Yeah.
Man, what adjustments did that require on all levels?
Thank you. That is a great question. It required a lot of adjustments. There's adjustments in knowing that in a district you're it.
Yeah.
You know, you're it for most everything, in spite of the delegation that you might do to the elders or to the lay people. You're it. To understanding that you're not it by yourself. That now you can rely on a team, that there's a team of pastors that can do and take care of different aspects of the church work so that you can focus on one particular aspect that you are specifically called upon in this particular context of college pastoring.
Okay.
And in this case, it would be preaching. You know.
Sure.
So in the collegiate context, it seems that the key things for the lead pastor are leadership, visioning, and preaching. Those are your key things. So the other aspects can be and should be delegated to your team of pastors.
Got it.
The other would probably be the adjustment of the expectations that are placed upon you. Because in the district, especially in a rural district, you're not as visible
Sure.
as you are now on a college campus.
Right.
It's different. Not that one is better than the other or that you're more important. It's just different.
You can't have office hours in 8 churches like you can at your college church.
Slightly complicated.
Yeah.
Kind of curveball there.
Right.
So yeah, you know, there's not an office that you go to.
Sure.
And there is not the level of scrutiny, perhaps, that extends throughout more people than just your district.
Got it.
You know, because now all of a sudden there's people from other places looking and seeing and watching and observing that you don't even know are there. So it's a different dynamic. It makes you you have to adjust to it.
And I want to dig a little deeper in that. But before I do, your family, I mean, did you have children pastoring 8 churches? Did your wife have an adjustment now that you don't have to drive hours on Sabbath?
No, we don't have to drive hours on Sabbath or Friday. No, yes, the family definitely adjusts. We did not have children in the district. We were
by design, or
by design. We were a young, fresh couple out of seminary. You know, younger than we are now, and we just decided not to have children for a bit. So we enjoyed that time alone for ourselves.
Sure.
Once we got to first. A single church, Campion Academy, and then to the College View Church in Lincoln, Nebraska, that's when we had children. I can see the adjustment is time for family.
Okay.
Because yes, in a larger district, though there are more churches, there are less demanding constraints on your time. Because most of those churches already are functioning on themselves. You have to go and do different things, but it's almost like a self-sufficient thing.
Sure.
And it's not that a big church isn't self-sufficient, but there are more demands with more committees you sit on, more things that you do, more time that you spend. So if I am not, if I don't tell my time where to go, my time will just disappear into things that I sometimes wonder, now, why did I spend so much time on this?
I understand.
And then wife and daughter will be wondering, where is dad?
Yeah.
And you don't want to do that. So
Right.
it's been a difficult adjustment. I'm still adjusting to it. I have by no means learned and become an expert at time management.
Sure.
But it's a process of constantly reminding myself, oh yeah, let's spend time with family. Yeah.
What about ministry preparation, sermons? You don't have 8 board meetings. I don't know if you made 8, but you do have one.
We've got one board meeting, yeah.
So what about preparation for things? Funerals? Are there more funerals? Are there more weddings? Being on a college campus?
So you do see more funerals, more weddings. You see more. You don't see 8 board meetings a month, which would have been impossible to do. But that is where you can rely on the team.
Okay.
So I don't do every funeral. What's more, in the context in which I am there, one of our pastors who recently retired, he's the one who's been there for 32 years.
Wow.
So he's doing the funerals. And it's not because they don't love any of us on the staff. He's been their pastor for 32 years. So I don't do every funeral.
Right.
I don't do every wedding. Board meetings, you do have to prepare for that. Preparation for committees or for preaching. That's where, once again, you can rely on your team to take care of certain things so that you can focus on the preparation time for preaching, which is essential in my current ministerial role.
Yeah.
So it allows for that ability to work better and to work in a smoother process. Though you do have these various responsibilities, there's a team that works with you, and it's a wonderful thing.
You know, when we come back, I want to talk to you about team, and I want to talk to you about working and rubbing shoulders every day with young adults.
Yes.
And young people. Because in a district, that may not have always been the case.
No.
All right. Stay with us. We'll be right back for more on Ministry in Motion. Welcome back to Ministry in Motion. I'm talking with Pastor Harold Alomia about an interesting journey from pastoring 8 churches to now pastoring a college university church. Man, let's talk about team. Let's dive deep. You had a team pastoring 8 churches.
Yeah.
But now you probably are more concentrated in that you're at one church and you have associates.
Yes.
Tell me about your concept of team. How did the district pastoring prepare you for leading a team?
Oh man, that is a great question, Ivan. And there's a lot to unpack on that when we talk about team. And it's true, in a district, you have a team. You have a team of elders, a team of folk that are already there, that you need to rely on, because they're the ones that are permanent and different from the transitional aspect of your ministry. They've been there.
Sure.
And
will be there.
They will be there. They are still there.
Yes.
So you must rely on them. It is absolute foolishness to not rely on the people that are there, which brings answers one of the aspects that district pastoring taught me, is that you need to understand that you are not the smartest person in the room, and you have to be okay with that.
Sure.
And I personally am absolutely okay with not being the smartest person in the room. Totally fine with that.
Amazing.
You have to be aware that there are a lot of blind spots in your life
Okay.
that you need to have other people take care of.
Got it.
You know, so that is one of the aspects of district pastoring that though is different, is also similar. I think district pastoring also teaches this aspect of humility and understanding that though you might be the guy,
Okay.
you're not the guy.
Sure.
You're, in many aspects, I think we're the water boy. You know, ministry is, I'm the water boy. I bring water.
Yes.
That's it. He's the guy, and we work through him.
Yes.
So keeping that mentality for transitioning from that district into a single church where there are associates, I work with people.
Okay.
They don't work for me. There's a difference.
Sure.
They're my associates. They're not my subordinates.
Okay.
We're part of a team. Yes, I understand that I'm the lead pastor,
Right.
but these are my partners in ministry. And it's keeping that aspect of understanding that I'm not the expert at the College View Church on young adults. That's my young adult pastor.
Got it.
She knows what's up.
Right.
My discipleship pastor, she knows what's up. And I rely on her for this. My administrative pastor, he knows what's up.
Sure.
I don't need to be the expert in that area.
Got it.
And youth ministry, the same thing. So it allows us to have a cohesive synergy in which we all bring our talents to the table for the benefit of the church community, for the benefit of the people, for how we are going to share the gospel in Lincoln, Nebraska. So
Right.
we all bring our talents and what the Lord has gifted us to do, to use it in this community, in this church community, and how this church community is going to affect the larger community for Christ. That's really what this is all about. And if I believe that the district teaches you that. It teaches you the humility of understanding that in the small places, you need to be joyful and you need to be happy, because that's where you learn it, you know.
Was your goal to leave the district?
Not at the time.
It wasn't?
No. In fact, the conference wanted to move us, and we said no, thank you. We're pretty happy where we are.
Wow.
The second time they came around, the first time we prayed about it, and we said, okay, Lord, if you want us out, you'll get us out. But for this time, we're just going to say, no thanks, we're going to stick around because we liked it. I can see us, perhaps, if we would have stayed a lot longer in that district, if we would have began to have children in that district, not because we don't like the district, but because of the dynamics, and you get tired of driving, 220 miles every 6 weeks one way, so 440 miles every weekend, every 6 weekends. You get a little tired of it. I can see tiredness, fatigue.
Sure.
Being a factor in, like, maybe we want to leave, but it wasn't because we didn't like the people or we didn't like the district.
Got it.
But at the time we were very happy to stay, and we stayed on. So I never really thought of, oh man, one day I'm gonna make it big. I'm gonna go to the big old mega church. I just enjoyed my time. Both my wife and I, we enjoyed our time in that district, and we look fondly at it, actually.
Often when people are looking for something, God sometimes doesn't give it. And sometimes, when you're young, you come out of school, you're ready to change the world.
Right.
Why would it be best for you, in order to pastor the Union Church, to go through those 8 churches? What would you say to a younger pastor who says, I don't need to pastor a district, I know my gifts, I want to be in a city, or I want to pastor one congregation? Any response to that?
Man, that's a great question, and I think it really depends on the individual giftedness of each one of us.
Okay.
Maybe there are some of us that are not really, gifted for a district, but gifted for a unique set of talents, for media or whatever.
Sure.
I don't know. I do know that if the attitude is, I'm too good for that, then you're not good for it at all.
Okay.
You can't have the attitude of I'm too good for a district or this is below me.
Sure.
And maybe it's the reason why God took me through that journey.
Sure.
You know, I remember vividly being at pastors at conference workers meetings, and Jesus has a sense of humor, and I believe in a sense of humor. And I heard about that district, and they introduced the pastor of that district, and I had this snarky little like, I'd never take that district. I'd never go there. Went to the seminary. When I graduated from the seminary and I got the phone call from the Rocky Mountain Conference, guess what district they were telling me to go to?
When you said you
that
wouldn't.
exact same district. And I remember vividly my own voice was echoed into my mind of like, I would never take that district. And I believe that there was a moment of Jesus' laughter of saying, you got some stuff to learn, kid. Go. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Harold, this is Rich. Stay with us, and you stay with us as well. You're watching Ministry in Motion. Welcome back. You're watching Ministry in Motion. I am with Pastor Harold Alomia. We've been talking about pastoring 8 churches in a district, and now you're pastoring a college church. You get to rub shoulders with young people, young adults every day.
Yeah.
How is that different from pastoring 8 churches in a district?
Well, there is a difference. That's a good question. There is a difference in that particular district. We were one of the youngest people in that district, and now the college students especially like to refer to me as old, which I am not yet. But there is a difference. I think the difference is between and even in a college church context in which I am, you have still the older members,
sure,
and there's more young people. There's the somehow keeping the dream alive and the vision alive and the spark alive and the hopefulness alive for the young folks, for our young adults, for letting them know that yes, these are things and how current things mesh with the gospel and how it stays relevant, and at the same time speaking to the older generation, the seasoned veterans of the church, and telling them that is also what we need to do. So it's not just me. It's not just me when I teach the class. I teach a class at Union College during the fall semester, Christian Beliefs. So it's not just me when I teach that class or when I interact with the students on campus, but it's all of us that are not of a college age.
Okay.
Kind of breathing hope and relevance to the younger minds, because they are the now of the church.
Yeah.
So if they don't see it modeled in us, if they don't see this gospel modeled in us, it kind of just they don't want to be part of it. That's where our young people are today.
It's interesting, Harold. You probably didn't pastor that many generations of people in your district, but I'm sure any given Sabbath or worship experience, you have maybe builders to Gen Z and all in between. Man, that would pose a challenge for most.
Yeah.
Was there an adjustment for you?
Oh, yeah.
In being able to speak to all of these generations who hear Harold Alomia differently.
Yeah. It's always a challenge. And there are again, it's one of those things that I haven't figured out, and if I ever do, I'll be happy to tell you how I figured it out. But there are times that I will say things that don't bode well with our seasoned veteran members. And there are times that I say things that don't bode well with the young members at the church.
Sure.
That they just think that I'm too old-fashioned, or oh, Pastor Harold he's not. They call it woke enough these days. He doesn't understand.
Right.
But you have to live in that tension, it feels, in this particular context. And in all contexts, you have to be able to address things that some might hear differently, but hopefully through the differences, they can hear the one common thing, which is, this is the gospel.
Got it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about you for a moment, Harold. This is a story that I've kind of watched from afar, and God has blessed you tremendously. And but what about you? What has been your learning curve or growth curve that God has brought you through? The place you said you weren't going to go, God sent you, and now He's given you huge responsibility.
Yeah.
What have you learned from these pastoral assignments? What are you growing towards as a leader? What are some of your passions?
Man, those are great questions. What I've learned, I think if there's one lesson that comes to my mind is in ministry, when you decide to be a pastor, you decide to follow the path of ministry, it's easier and it's better for you to rely on God's planning than on your own.
Okay.
Because we're kind of not our own.
You mean ordering our own steps?
Yeah,
or?
like in 10 years, I'm going to be president of
Okay.
such and such. If you want to have a goal, sure, knock yourself out.
Sure.
In my experience, it seems that God has a way of forging goals into different aspects. When I was a college student, I thought myself that I was going to be a professor. That I wasn't going to be a pastor.
Okay.
My dad was a pastor, my grandpas both were pastors. I'm not going to be a pastor. I'm going to be a professor. Yeah, Jesus had other plans. So if there's one lesson I've learned, and I think I'm still learning, is never say never.
Yeah.
Never say I'm never going to that district, and understand that when He guides your ministerial career, your path, it's going to be a lot better. As far as a leadership curve, I think the other thing is that you should never stop learning.
Okay.
Don't think that you've arrived because you're at the college church now. You have arrived. Actually, you just started.
Yeah.
And the fresher that is in my mind, the better I'm reminded that, one, this is not my path, it's His path to take. I submitted my life to His path, to His guidance, and that I haven't arrived. There's so much more to learn. There's what they say, there's what you don't know,
Right.
what you don't know you know, and what you know you don't know. So there's a lot that you don't know.
Sure.
And the more I can keep that in mind, the more open I am to learning more stuff, to being humble about, and that's another thing, humility, pivotal in this type of stuff. So passions, aside from the gospel, which is a very good church answer, soccer, photography, cooking, my family, my wife, my daughter, those are passions of mine. I really enjoy time for that, and I try to seek time for those things.
Awesome, man. Let's stay in touch. This is a great journey.
Absolutely.
And someone wrote a book, God, what was the name of that book? God wrote it, and I'm in it.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's a wonderful story.
Undeservedly in it. Yes.
That you shared. Thank you for being with us on Ministry in Motion. Will you come back?
If you guys have me, sure, I'd love to.
All right.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thanks for being with us today. We had a great conversation with Pastor Harold Alomia about the challenges and blessings of going from pastoring a district of 8 churches to pastoring one church with a staff of 6 ministry leaders. We learned from him that team matters, whether in a district or on a college campus. Number 2, we learned that empowering others is essential. Number 3, work just as faithfully no matter where your ministerial assignment or responsibility is. Then lastly, Pastor Harold emphasized having humility as you serve. Thanks for being with us on Ministry in Motion. Whether you are a pastor or ministry leader, Faithfulness to your calling is what the Lord requires.